Hello everybody, Toy Chelsea powering up for another video. Today's topic, death. Today we say goodbye to Unus Annus. And I will talk about a time that I nearly died. This happened back when I was pregnant with my son, my first child. And at the time, I will say, I was worried when I learned about certain conditions. And I'm a hypochondriac, so my, at the time, husband thought I was just over-exaggerating. The thing is, I wasn't. See, about halfway through my pregnancy, I started getting super sensitive to light. Like, I turned into a vampire, basically. I could not go outside. All the lights in the house had to be off. I could not stand light for the life of me. And some of you have already figured out what I possibly had, if you know about this condition. So when I got to the hospital, they took my blood pressure, and it was, I think, 150/90, which is high, but not super, super, super high yet. Always has to have a say in it. But they took a urine sample, and they saw that there was protein in my urine. So, obviously, they diagnosed me with preeclampsia. Yay! The one thing that I was worried about all my pregnancy, I had it. Shocker! It just started really developing in the last week or so. Yay! And I looked at my husband like, don't have preeclampsia, huh? And the whole time that I knew him, I would not let him live that down. Ever. Because I knew. Now, I later learned that it most likely was not just preeclampsia. For those of you who don't know, there is a condition, there's actually a couple conditions that are slightly worse than preeclampsia. And that's HELP syndrome and eclampsia, which eclampsia is preeclampsia with seizures, and HELP, I think, messes with your blood. Makes you severely anemic, which I'm gonna say I don't know about the HELP. I know that I was severely anemic afterwards, but back on track. I'll explain that later. Now, with the seizure thing, it turns out that my life, I have been suffering from seizures. And I didn't really know until about a year ago. Shocker. Do you want to know why? Because my seizures don't pronounce as normal seizures, you know, not shaking and convulsing. I have complex partial seizures, where I am conscious during my seizures, and I can somewhat communicate. I say somewhat. Usually I'm too focused on trying not to let the sensation of having a seizure overwhelm me. Basically, I'm gonna say this side of my face completely flushes. Just this side of my face. Not this side, this side. It warms up completely, and complex partial seizures are usually on a specific side of the brain. And I have an EEG scheduled to confirm. Granted, I haven't had one in quite a while. Actually, not since I gave birth to my son, to be completely fair. However, they can still probably detect some abnormalities, because I think I've been having nighttime seizures lately. That's aside the point. See, my seizures, as complex partial, not only does it heat up, I have auditory and mentally visual. I say mentally visual because I don't actually see anything with my own eyes. It's in, like, my head, but it's very clear. It's like forcing me to have a dream while I'm awake, and it's usually nightmarish. And what I hear is nothing but distorted, nasty music. It makes me feel nauseous, dizzy, obviously. Typically, I have to lean up against something, close my eyes, and just ground myself. I have to basically tell myself, it's not real. Focus. Sometimes I just look at something and focus on that object, saying, that object there is real. That object right there is real. And I have to do that to keep myself grounded. Otherwise, who knows, I could potentially go into a full catatonic seizure. I have no idea. But, yeah. Now, those started happening once a day towards the end of my pregnancy, meaning chances are I probably actually had eclampsia. God. And to top off that, they checked a certain reflex, I guess. And from here on out, I say I guess a lot because, oh boy, I was on so many drugs. So much medication that I hardly remember anything. I only remember little bits and details because I was just so sick. So sick. Basically, they checked a reflex on my foot, where they checked to see how jerky it was, and my foot was, you're supposed to jerk once. I was jerking, like, 3 times, and they were like, oh, oof, ugh, she's about to have a seizure. Guess what? I probably have already been having seizures, and that's why my reflex is that brisk. Of course, at the time, they didn't know, and I didn't know. Most of the people that I knew probably, they thought that I was just having psychic, visions. And I was told, just let them happen. And now I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't just let them happen. Oh, and most of the hallucinations I completely forget afterwards. And I have to rest for, like, 6 hours afterwards. I am down. So, obviously, once they saw that I had all of this, they hooked me up and started me on magnesium sulfate. That is the worst drug in existence. Anytime I hear that name, it just sends shivers down my spine. I hate it so much. It's so nasty. It makes you feel like shit. It's basically just poisoning you. Poisoning you just enough to not have a seizure, but not enough to kill you, basically. It sucks. They had me on that, and they also had me on a pretty decent dose of fentanyl to try to keep me calm. It didn't help that I also suffer from severe anxiety disorder when it comes to blood pressure. Because most of the stuff after that is very blurry. I was in labor for like 18 hours, and I remember little to none of it. I remember bits and pieces. I do remember being told that at one point, they were pushing me to get an epidural. I was gonna try to go natural, but they were like, oh my god, this woman needs to get an epidural because the pain is literally causing her blood pressure to shoot the fuck up. It got up to, and here is where everybody's gonna be like, holy shit, how are you still alive? My blood pressure was 210/180 at its highest. And yes, that top number is very high, but everybody was concerned about the bottom number being at 180. That was the very concerning number. how I didn't have a stroke or a blood clot or something, I will never fucking know. Like I said, I was severely anemic afterwards. If I had help, perhaps me losing blood probably saved my life. Who knows? All I know... Hi, Carver. Thank you for the water. Drink up. Drink your milk. Go watch. Go watch your show. All I know is they were really needing me to get an epidural. And God bless the soul of the anesthesiologist, because I only remember the last time he came in. I guess he came in 3 different times and explained in full detail the procedure 3 different times for me. And that's so nice that he did that. And that was also the day that I found out, hey, my spine is fucked up, because he had trouble getting the epidural in when I did finally let him do it. It wasn't as bad as people made it out to be, I will say that. People were just like, the big needle, it hurts so much, but it feels good in comparison to the contractions. It didn't hurt, and I have experience with it a second time, obviously. The first time, I felt literally nothing, and that's probably because of all the fucking drugs I was on. It just completely numbed any sensation that I possibly felt. But the second time, I was pretty much aware. The only thing that hurts is the lidocaine. That's what it's called. Going in before the needle. That's it. It's not really that bad. I wouldn't call it pleasant by any means, but it's really not that bad. But yeah. So I finally got the epidural, and eventually I did give birth to my son. After that, my blood pressure kind of stayed up there. It did start going down. Obviously, they started pumping me full of blood pressure medication. They were like, get that down, get that down. But of course, when they transfer me over to postpartum, I found out, hey, your iron is super low. I think it was like a 5. I mean, I was sick. I was just 100% sick. Like, they came in, one of the doctors came in, it was just like, hey, we should consider giving you a blood transfusion. And I was just like, I mean, I don't feel all that bad. Granted, again, I was on some pain meds and still had a little bit of the mag sulf in my system. Still kind of getting out of the funk of that. So, yeah, I probably didn't feel as bad as I did. Or as I should have. And I was just like, nah, I'm good. And that concerned him, because he was like, well, I mean, if you're used to the feeling, if this is how you normally feel, that's probably not great. Turns out that, yeah, I ended up being diagnosed with anemia about a month ago. So, yay. I was probably anemic most of my life. Yeah, no, my blood at its lowest was like 5. My iron count, like 5, which is super low for those who don't know. And they were like, we need to get you up to a 7 at least before we let you go, which I obviously got to. But yeah, no, that whole experience was nothing but fun. So much fun. Being that close to death is so much fun, guys. But hey, I lived. I just... So many people just do not take into consideration how dangerous it can be to be pregnant. And I'm not going to get into the politics of stuff, but you just got to know, pregnancy can be super, super dangerous, and the only advice I can give is make sure you go to your appointments, because that was something I didn't do my first pregnancy. Towards the end, I was too afraid of going in for the gestational diabetes test and getting stuck again. Guess what? I ended up getting stuck more times in the hospital than I will ever probably get again. Like, I have my right arm, you can see just a nice little imprint of all of the freaking sticks I've gotten just at the hospital alone. It's a joy. Life is fun. Don't take it for granted. Go out and enjoy your life while you have it. Because believe me, it can be taken away very quickly. It could have been taken away from me. I got lucky. That's it. I got lucky. I just got lucky. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. Until next time, Toy Chelsea, powering down.